Everyone's happy? Cool. Right, public forum. Multicultural Recreation and Community Centre Charitable Trust. There he is, the young fella himself. Welcome back, James.
Okay, thank you.
You haven't changed a bit.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Okay. Ina yivi, ina mana, ina leo, ina rankatina ma, tena koto, tena tato katoa. Good morning, the mayor, councillors, all the council staff, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jimmy Chen, but you are all aware of me, yes. So I'm the deputy chair of the Multicultural Recreation and Community Centre Trust. Sitting beside me is Emily, the Wohong Wen, is our trust board member. So on behalf of the board trustee, I also like to express our sincere gratitude to the mayor, councillors, and all council staff for joining us at the grand opening of the Multicultural Centre on March 5th of this year. Since our Okay, sorry, I need to acknowledge one more people. Okay, yes. I would like to acknowledge our board of trustees, Sujana, Dante Moena, Eugenie the Posusai, and Danny Faji, also Claire Phillips and Anne Galloway, who are ex-officio. On behalf of the trust, I want to thank the Christchurch City Council for your continued support and providing resources, especially a full-time manager, Dr. Viviana Zanetti, who has done an excellent job in the establishment of this center. Since our grand opening, we are thrilled to report over 7,000 user engagement, representing 121 distinct groups. So this demonstrates the center's vital role as a dynamic gathering space for our community. So looking ahead, we are excited to host a wide range of cultural activities and celebrations, including key events like Eid, Nowruz, Samoan Language Week, and the Buddha Day. Earlier this year, the Multicultural Centre Trust formalized an activation agreement with the City Council, marking the beginning of our collaborative partnership to enhance our service offerings to the community. Our strategic plan is in place, outlining our vision, mission, long-term objectives, short-term goals, and key performance indicators, all of which we are committed to executing with intentional strategy. As a key long-term objective is to create a safe and inclusive environment that celebrates the diverse cultures, age groups, and individual needs within our community. The aim that aligns closely with the overarching goal of the Christchurch City Council. In the coming months, we will focus on engaging with the diverse array of cultural and ethnic communities in our decision-making process, providing regular updates through newsletter and employing various fundraising initiatives to ensure long-term sustainability.
So as we move forward as a multicultural center, we are excited about the collaborative opportunities emerging from our partnership with the Christchurch City Council. We are dedicated to achieving financial sustainability and ensuring compliance with relevant regulations to support our operational longevity. We warmly invite you, the mayor, councillors, council staff, and all members of our expert audience to visit the center at your convenience to see firsthand the positive impact we are making in the community. Additionally, we look forward to welcoming you to our AGM in March of 2025, where we will be celebrating our achievements and share our vision with you. Thank you so much, Council, for your support, continued support as we embark on the reward journey towards building an inclusive and dynamic community space that uplifts and inspires all involved. Te Toa, Haumatia, there's nothing that we can achieve without a plan, workforce, and a way of doing things. Kia ora.
Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. That's it.
Well done, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Has anyone got any questions that they'd like to ask Jimmy? I've been down there a number of times, Jimmy and Emily. It is a fantastic what you're doing down there, and I'm so pleased the council's been involved and be able to produce a building and give it to you guys to run and use, because it's certainly getting well used. So thank you very much again for what you do.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for your coming.
No problem.
Honor to provide hospitality
for
all of you.
And it's got a thing called car parking, which is marvellous. So thank you very much for coming in. Good on you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okie doke. So we'll now move on to deputations. Community action on youth and drugs. I'd like to welcome Paul, who will speak on behalf of that group regarding item 5. How are you, man?
Morena I te kura mātua me ngā kaikanihira, ngā mihi nui mō te whakarongo mai kia mātou I tēnei atu. This morning I'm speaking to you wearing a different hat than usual. That of a senior project worker for Community Action on Youth and Drugs, or known as CAYAD, regarding the local alcohol policy decision you have before you. I spent a significant chunk of time advocating for and helping underserved communities through the alcohol licensing process, through the objection process and hearings. So this morning you've been given a summary of views by staff from the Life in Christchurch survey that pretty much says that people want more say over alcohol licensing in their communities. And that in underserved communities such as Linwood Ward, people think there is a problem with alcohol related harm and that it is coming from off licences in particular. And the community do want a vibrant hospo scene with nice places to eat where they can have a drink with food. The hospitality industry who actually offer hospitality have nothing to fear from an LAP which is evidence-led and reflects the aspirations of the people of Christchurch. And then after having decided to start developing an LAP, you are then being asked whether to finish the job this term or to leave it to the next council, and whether the hearings should be done by full council or another option. And the staff recommendation is that you finish the job you have started with the LAP and get cracking, and the full council hear submissions before making a decision. We support this recommendation. So I'm taking the time to urge you to get on and get cracking with the LAP because the communities you serve need one. Often these discussions focus on the people drinking and their choices, but the simple fact of the matter is that alcohol is unique among drugs and that the bulk of the impact of its negative consequences falls onto people who are not using it. So not on the drinker, but onto innocent bystanders. Leaving the LAP for the next council to develop just kicks the can down the road and provides less certainty for licence holders and for communities alike. So at the moment, settings are imposed licence by licence in a slightly better than ad hoc fashion. The sooner it is done, the sooner everyone knows the rules and we get to that all-important regulatory certainty. It will even save you OPEX because it will stop your licensing team from having to attend so many hearings, and you won't need to pay your district licensing committee to run so many hearings. It's a win-win-win. So if your staff team did need more resources, you should use some of that surplus to get them what they need so they can get it done. Secondly, it's important that all of you are able to be across of all the issues and get the feedback from the community through consultation, because you all end up having to make the decision anyway. And the industry has shown it is more than willing to engage in litigation to protect its profit margins. Don't get me wrong, much has changed legally, and that should give you the confidence to proceed with determination, but the process is vital. So our role will be talking with communities and organisations to get them to participate in the consultation process, furnished with evidence and with confidence that they will be listened to by their council. Happy to take any questions if you have any.
Yeah, Mark, please.
Thank you. Paul, I gather the LAP will make life a lot simpler potentially for the community?
Well, it can. A good LAP provides across the city and in particular areas if you choose to, the same conditions so it's predictable for for licence holders and for the community. So, as I said, it will reduce the number of hearings because it means that licence holders can't try it on because that happens quite a lot. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, Andre?
Thank you, Paul. Last time council went forward with the LAP proposal, it ended up with potentially much stricter restrictions for hospitality businesses. So when you say hospitality businesses have nothing to fear, can you understand how they would be fearful given what happened last time?
I can. It's a very different environment. I think that there is a lot has been learned in that time, both inside council and outside. And certainly, I think across the community, there's a recognition in this that the off licences are driving the harm.
So thank you.
Okay, Sam?
Excuse me, thanks, Paul. Do you have a view on the Auckland LAP that's been adopted?
I have lots of views on the Auckland LAP.
Yeah.
They've done us a service because the Supreme Court has ultimately upheld it and provided some more legal certainty. I quite like what they've done.
Yeah.
I think similar conditions in Christchurch would be really good, particularly restriction on off licence, and particularly in deprived areas.
So how would you feel, and I'll tease that with the relevant staff later, but that focus on the off licence, I mean, that's kind of what you've been indicating.
Well, like there are conditions that can reduce harm for on licences too, particularly those that don't serve food. But the focus, in my view, the evidence would say that you should be focusing on off licences where the cheapest, most harmful products are sold, and where people are drinking in an unregulated environment.
Okay. Hey, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Good, Scott. Kelly?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Particularly interested to hear in the focus on off licences. Are you aware in the last few years of any ability that the community has had to actually stop an off licence where the community didn't want it in Christchurch?
There have been a few that have gone through the process, and that a lot of them have pulled out when they realise the depth of public opposition. But the most prominent one was that went through the full hearing process and got declined was the one on the corner of Ensel's Road and Ferry Road, and then there was also one in Hornby called Good Bliss Liquor that was also declined after a lengthy process. And there's a few that I can't remember off the top of my head, but mostly the ones that fail because because of the effort that we and others put in to get the community aware.
And so hopefully a local alcohol policy will make that a bit easier.
Yes. Well, what it hopefully will do is say that there are some areas where there will be no new licences. I mean, across the city we've got too many, for instance, bottle stores, and so providing some certainty around that would be really good.
Okay, we're gobbling up time, but lastly, Tim.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Your thoughts on the hearing process? Should it be in front of the full council, or should it be a smaller type?
I very strongly support the staff recommendation to have it in front of the full council, because you're double handling, and I think all of you who are able to participate should hear the evidence and be across all the issues, because it is a significant and complicated decision. Yeah. And I think also the community would appreciate being heard by all of you.
And it affects all wards, really. So
yeah, and that's right. And my friend Liz, who has experience working across, so I'm only focused on the east side. My friend Liz will speak next, has done licence hearings across the city. So.
Thank you very much, Paul. Cheers.
Thank you, Paul, for the trouble coming in.
Thank you very much.
So now I'd like to welcome Liz, who will speak on this from Communities Against Alcohol Harm, who will also speak on Wainukai. Hello, good morning.
Kia ora tātou. Ko Liz Gordon tōku ingoa. I work 30 hours a week for a charity called Communities Against Alcohol Harm, and that charity assists communities throughout the country. I work in Christchurch, but I also work around the country, opposing alcohol licences as they come up for hearings. I work the rest of the time as a pro bono barrister supporting individuals at hearings. I'm the cheapest lawyer in the country, yeah, and it's really, really important work, because although the law has changed, for example, there's no cross-examination now at hearings, there still is. Here in Christchurch there still is, because the Christchurch decided to grandfather the regulations, so any applications made before the 30th of May, so it's going to be still have cross-examination. It's going to be another year, so people are still getting eviscerated here and in the rooms on a weekly and monthly basis. Some of them reasonably recently. So that's what I do. I support the recommendation and option 1. The changes to the law last year enabled the process by removing one step from the LAP process, and so it's really important to take advantage of that. Without getting into a situation we were in a few years ago when we spent $1 million and got no benefit at all. So the reasons that you need to support this option is that the number of harmful outlets is still proliferating in Christchurch. There are 65 liquor stores. There would be 70 if it wasn't for the community. We stop liquor stores all over the country, or town, city and country. There are 20 supermarkets that sell alcohol. They sell some very, very harmful products in very, very, very large quantities. I've given you my fact sheet there. This is a very up-to-date. I've just updated it. It's a really good summary of the facts, that is, the information that can be verified about alcohol-related harm in Aotearoa. So the second reason is that there's lots of people waiting for this. The District Licensing Committee, who you people appoint, said at their hearing that, we can't wait for the LAP to give us some tools. Actually, they've got tools, but they don't use them. They want leadership from the council, and I think that's really important. Community objectors who get eviscerated on a regular basis by alcohol industry lawyers really, really, really want to see some change, some better rules. The agencies who support the process, the police and the medical officer of health and so on, are also looking for it. Some of the objectors, like Mr. Peters, who regularly objects in Hornby, really don't want to, would like to see significant change. And just as an aside, there are city councillors all over the country who we support to object to licences. Here we've only got Mark, so do step up, contact me, I'll contact you, make a difference. There are some things that can be done easily, and some of you will have read my op-ed that said, you can do it within the Auckland footprint. And sorry, is there an issue?
No, carry on.
Okay, so there are some things that can be done really easily. If we work just within the Auckland footprint and maybe do one or two other things, do the simple things first, which take shorter time. And this doesn't need to be a 10-year plan. It can be revised at any time. Fourthly, there are clear and present dangers on this process. The main ones is the alcohol industry still has unlimited legal pots to oppose via judicial review, so you've got to be really careful what you do. Secondly, there are 2 private members' bills already in the MP's ballots to reverse the process back to where it was. There's a huge push. This is a contested process. And finally, you have the opportunity to make a modest and efficient start via the staff's recommendation to the council, and the community is there to support you. There's lots of us who will give you as much support as you need to do that, and let's hope we can get a good, modest start towards making a difference in this area. Kia ora.
Thank you. Mark, did you have a question? Yeah, we go, Mark. Yep.
Thank you, Liz. I gather you'll be keen to get the LAP in place to potentially lessen some of your workload?
Sorry, Mark, can you say it again?
I gather you'd be keen to see the LAP in place and will enjoy having more time on your hands rather than having to work so hard.
Well, indeed. I'm only 27 years old, you see what it's done to me.
I know exactly where you're coming from. Yeah. Okay, Victoria, and then Tim.
Thank you, Liz. You made a comment that there are some tools, but they're not being used. Can you expand on that, please?
Well, your district licensing committee, we appoint people, they're great people, JPs, people that are standing in the community, but there's no doubt about it that they're in the shadow of there's very, very well-paid alcohol lawyers who say you can't make a single change without the applicant, so the industry, agreeing. So, for example, if you want to reduce the hours of operation of a liquor store from 11 p.m. to 10 p.m., which is one of my struggles, they often say that the applicant has to agree. This is not true, but it's kind of the way the law has come to operate, and these are just lay people who run these committees, and they've become quite knowledgeable, but there's no doubt about it that they don't use the full powers they have as a commission of inquiry to make changes. Sometimes they do some quite brave things, and we've been struggling now for several years, and having the community active has made a huge difference. The agencies are more on their toes now. The DLC is more prepared to listen to the effects of the harm of alcohol on the community. That fact sheet wouldn't have existed without our organisation, and so that we send out information, we make submissions, we get communities to have their say. When communities have their voice, it's very, very powerful. But 99.9% of all licences get renewed. 98% of all new licences get approved. It's a really, really high figure, and we're struggling in those margins to make a difference.
Okay, Tim, please. These are all good questions, please.
Thank you. With regards to our government, the central government, we've got so many regulations on foods and other chemicals, etc., that are harmful in trying to protect us. Yet it seems to be blind, deaf and dumb to alcohol, because I know that RTDs are made sweet so young people buy them. The alcohol's a poor quality alcohol. I mean, the kids nickname them, a box of RTDs as coffins. So do you lobby central government? It's not political as in parties, because they've all failed, but do you lobby central government?
We did, and we got changes to the Act last year. The LAP process was simplified. Cross-examination has gone. We did lobby, and we did get some great changes. Let me give you one example. Section 400 of the Act, of Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act, says that the government will make a schedule of all banned alcohol products. How many banned products are there on it? Mark, do you know?
No. Zero. Yeah.
There were zero. For the record, there was zero on that. And so waiting for central government to do much is kind of... And not only that, the system has never been set up to populate that list.
So central government is actually, if they turned around and said they had to... Alcohol sales had to be of a quality of at some level, that would help, wouldn't it?
But what it does is it devolves the struggle to individual community people, and so people. My organisation is the kind of bottom barrier to support the communities to have their say. And without that, we organise them, we help them write briefs of evidence, we say what they can say and what they can't say. We take them along to hearings well prepared. But without that, it's all is confusion.
Thank you, Liz. I've still got two questions, and I will let them be asked. Sam?
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Liz. Probably the same question I had for Paul, just around the Auckland LAP and your thoughts on that. The Auckland LAP and your thoughts on that?
My view on the LAP is start simple and work up. So I think 9 o'clock closing for off licences. The harm doubles after 9 p.m. So but people buy alcohol after 9 p.m. There's double the harm from that alcohol because they're often second buying. They've already bought once. They've got to buy again. They go home. There's car accidents. There's family harm. There's so on and so forth. That and then a moratorium on off licences is what Auckland did. I must say that your district, your inspectors here, and there aren't any in the room, but they need to be praised because they have informally been discouraging harmful off licences in areas where they're going to cause harm. We've already got 65. We've got a lot of off licences, and there haven't actually been any new applications. The inspectors say to them, you know, it's going to be really hard for you to get this through.
Just sorry, Liz. So on the Auckland stuff, and you're comfortable with the off licence changes in Auckland?
Paul, what is he saying?
Are you comfortable with the off licence changes in Auckland?
I am comfortable with them, yes, and I
Okay.
think we should emulate them.
Thank you.
And sorry, I had one more. Andre, yeah, fire away.
Thank you. Are you essentially opposed to all new off licences going forward?
Say it again.
Are you opposed to all new off licences going forward in Christchurch?
So I think there's some really interesting questions about how many off licences there should be, because there's no doubt that the more you have, the more harm there is. And it's almost impossible to close an off licence down, because if there's two in one area, which ones do you close?
So new ones that pop up.
So I think it's a complex issue. The answer is I'm not absolutely opposed to all off licences going forward, but I think that the policy makers need to address some of the matters about what we should have that provides the opportunity for good sale and supply without the accompanying harm.
Yeah, so I guess you mentioned that there's too many currently. Do you intend to use an LAP to oppose all new off licences being established going forward, I guess is...
So one of my clients, Mr. John Minto, has 15 liquor stores within a 6-minute drive of his home. He's tested it out. And I think there are too many in that little park just south of the city. Look, I don't oppose anything. I support communities. You know, if communities come to me and say they want to oppose a new licence, then I will. I would in Hornby. Hornby I live in, and there's quite enough there.
So for an example, Halsey, we've got 2 new supermarkets to come. Like, do you intend to, if they both want off licences, do you intend to oppose them? I guess is
so Hallswell, of course, is the biggest suburb and it's growing. And it's there haven't been that many. So no, the other thing is that supermarkets they have they have the full services of 2 of the top lawyers in the country, and they win all the time. And it's we do take on supermarkets, but it's a bit David and Goliath, so we pick our fights.
You pick your fights. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre. Now, Yanni's put his hand up, and we are way over time, but fire away, mate. And that is the last one.
Yeah, just one question from me, and that is, do you have a view on the use of licensing trusts versus how we do it here, and is that something you think we should be looking at going forward?
I do, and I've worked in licensing trusts area too. Unfortunately, they've become I think most of the ones that exist are relatively dysfunctional for one reason or another. I don't think that model is the one, although the issue of some ways of community control, whether the LAP's that way or whether there's other mechanisms. I don't think the licensing trust model is a great model for the future. I mean, it's nice in that the profits go back to the community, but then when it comes to a new alcohol licence that the community trust is setting up, the community say, oh, we can't oppose that because we get money from them. So there are some key issues.
Thank you, Liz. That's very good, and thank you for your passionate presentation. And I've never seen time disappear like it in my life. So thank you for coming in. Thank you.
We've never had a mayor oppose a licence yet, sir. We've had a few.
No pressure, thank you. Now, the Governor's Bay Jetty Trust, Prue and Louisa, who will speak on item 7, please.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Prue Miller, Louisa Eads, trustees on the Governor's Bay Jetty Restoration Trust. Later in this meeting, you will hear a council report giving advice on options to reduce the financial impact on the community loan given to the trust so that it could rebuild the jetty. This advice was requested in the long-term plan. One of the options covered by the report is to reduce the interest rate of the loan to 0%. We ask that you choose this option, and we are here today to explain why.
Last time we stood before you with our metaphorical caps in our hands was May earlier this year. We were making our submission to the long-term plan. We asked for two things. Firstly, for the council to contribute $174,000, and that was the balance of the council's half share of the final rebuild cost. The principle was that the trust and the council pay 50% each of the rebuild cost. And we've been asking for that 50-50 split right from our very first deputation back in April 2015. And that's been part of our good faith understanding with the council ever since then. And secondly, we asked for the council to reduce the interest rate on our community loan to 0%.
In response to our submissions, you agreed that the council would contribute its balance of the 50% rebuild cost, $174,000 over 3 years. We received the first instalment of $58,000 in September. Just gone. Thank you for that. In relation to our interest-free loan request, you resolved to request advice on the best options to reduce the financial impact of the loan to the Governor's Bay Jetty Restoration Trust. The capital funding request is tied to the interest request. If the loan is interest-free, then there is no additional cost to the trust if the council's capital funding of $174,000 is spread $58,000 over the 3 years. However, if the loan is not interest-free, then the trust will be paying interest on the loan for the council's amounts of $58,000 while we wait for funding to come in 2025 and 2026.
And now we come to our second point. The trust is paying interest on the council's 50% of the total project cost. The original drawdown of $850,000 in early 2023 included that council's $174,000. Meaning that the trust has been paying interest not only on its share of that loan, but also the council's share since then, that $174,000. As of September 2024, when we received our $58,000 first lot, although we had to use $13,000 of that to pay interest, by the way, the trust is paying interest on $116,000 of the council's share. When the council pays its second instalment of $58,000 in the 25-26 financial year, the trust will be paying interest on the remaining $58,000 for the further year, etc., until the final payment by the council in 26 or 27, depending on when that comes through.
We understand that there may be concern about setting a precedent for other community loans. Does this mean that you'll be bombarded with requests for existing and new loans to be interest-free? We appreciate that this comes at a cost to the council and ultimately the ratepayer. However, setting a precedent inherently requires a situation with the same or very similar facts. The jetty project is a unique one-off project. For another community loan to be arguably interest-free based on a precedent set here, the asset would have to be originally owned by the council, have their ownership legally transferred to the community group for the purposes of completing a significant infrastructure project. 3, have 100% of the work done by the community group. 4, have a 50-50 funding arrangement partnership with the council and the group. And 5, return the ownership of that asset for a nominal amount, here it's $1, back to the council on completion. There is a clear distinction which avoids precedent setting in most circumstances. Indeed, some people say we've been doing the council's job. In any case, if it is 0% from now on, it still can't be called an interest-free loan because we've already paid $35,000 in interest.
When you hear the staff report later this morning, you will be told there is no evidence to support the trust not being in a position to repay principal and interest on the existing loan. And this reflects the Council's confidence in the Trust, and for that we thank you. However, we wanted to reiterate the point we made in our long-term plan submission that our ongoing fundraising efforts will be more successful if we can communicate to the public that every cent they donate or spend pays off the community's balance of its half share, not interest, and certainly not interest on the Council's portion of the loan. The Trust is a group of 8 volunteers. Most of us have full-time jobs, and the others are busy retirees. We've got no paid staff. All fundraising is done by us in our spare time with the help of a wider group of volunteers from Governors Bay community. We're in the position of being able to make a capital payment of $45,000 immediately once we get confirmation of 0% interest. If 4% interest remains, then we've got a bill of $10,000 interest coming in soon, so we'll only be able to pay $35,000 of the loan, and so that would reduce the balance to $430,000. After that, we'll need to raise $4,300 every 3 months before we even touch the principal. $4,300 is a lot of money for us. I don't know if any of you have done a sausage sizzle at a weekend. On average, that makes $500 for an afternoon's work. If you're one of our volunteers, we'd be asking you to do one sausage sizzle every weekend for the next 3 years, and that would just pay the interest, not the loan. The report says, I know I'm over time, but I'll talk fast. The report says a reduction to 2% will not make a significant impact on the Trust finances, but actually it would reduce the number of sausage sizzles by 50%. So, with respect, we disagree with that. After 10 years retired, any reduction in interest is significant for us. Even our T-shirts are tired. And it'd be significant for the Council because if the loan's interest-free, will pay more interest. The Trust, if the loan is not interest-free, the Trust and the Council will pay more interest overall because it will take longer to pay off the principal of the loan.
On Monday, we just asked on our local community group online for ratepayers' views on an interest-free loan here. Within 24 hours, we had heaps of comments, all in favour of an interest-free loan, and here are a few examples. We won't read them out.
We won't read them out because we've run out of time.
Thank you for listening, and do you have any questions?
Thank you. Yes, I have got two questions, Tyrone, and then Sam.
Thank you, and look, thank you for the incredible work that you do. So you're basically looking for relief of about $1,500 a month, reducing over time, isn't it? That's roughly about right, isn't it? Yeah, thank you. And you've talked to staff about this, but I understand that you weren't notified that this was coming to Council today, that the issue, like you've had initial conversations with staff about the reduction in the loan, the interest, but...
Oh, we knew a report had been written,
yeah,
but we didn't see it until Monday.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sam.
Yeah, hey, thanks very much for coming in. I appreciate what you guys do. I'm just wondering, you mentioned about paying interest on the money that we owe you effectively. So would the problem, because I mean, I guess there is always a challenge for us in that we set precedent with different things, and we have a heap of groups that would obviously, I mean, everyone would want interest-free loans if they can get them. Would it be as simple as maybe us getting some advice before we make a decision on maybe just actually forward paying the contribution we were going to spread over 3 years to you? So that would effectively reduce that principal now and then, in essence, give you an interest reduction.
That would deal with the issue of interest on the Council's share.
Yeah.
It would reduce the principal by quite a bit.
Yeah.
We'd still have to do quite a bit of fundraising every, you know.
But I'm just saying, I guess the recommendation is to not proceed with giving you 0% interest. Well, I'm just trying to find that, we have to do that middle ground of maybe actually it's easier for us to pay you what we were going to over the 3 years now to then reduce the interest bill in a different way.
Totally, yeah.
So maybe we could get some advice.
John would do that. John.
Yeah, John, yeah, just before we get to the paper.
But then they're also saying they've paid interest on some of our money already, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, you can't get everything.
Thank you. Yep, okay, we'll get some advice on that. Thanks very much for coming in. Good on you. Good to see you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have... Not Helen yet? No. So we've got no petitions.